If you are a black sheep of the family, a generational curse breaker, a narcissistic family scapegoat, a truth teller, whatever you want to call yourself, a chosen one, whatever, right? You'll probably resonate with this. You know what I'm saying? Losing your whole family, especially for those who go no contact, is something hard to deal with. It's something very confusing. It can cause so many different emotions: anger, frustration, sadness, confusion. You feel what I'm saying? Excuse the dogs for barking. I'm from Philly, so everybody got dogs in Philly, and in their backyards, the dog's always barking. You feel what I'm saying? So I zone it out, but when I'm on TikTok live or when I'm recording YouTube videos, I know y'all probably hear it. And y'all probably like, yo, what the heck? But I'm so used to hearing it growing up in Philly. I'm in Vegas now, but I'm so used to hearing it that it really don't really bother me that much. It only bothers me when I know I gotta do a YouTube video. You feel what I'm saying? But if you don't know me and you're new to my channel, my name is Josh Different. My slogan is I'm different, you different, we different. Because we all different. We might have similar experiences, but we walk different paths. All of our journeys are unique. Although, like I said, we might have similar situations that we have been in with a lot of different, elements or experiences or a lot of nuance within each situation in regards to everybody's situation. So I'm a black sheep of the family. I grew up in Philadelphia. I grew up in a narcissistic family system, a toxic family. Throughout my younger years, I always say that people attempted to bully me, but I don't really consider it bullying because I'm always the type to fight back. Like, I'm a real defiant person. So I went through a lot of different things when I was younger, like in elementary. So eventually I went to homeschool, went into a household that conditioned me or tried to condition me in order to, be easily manipulated and gaslit and stuff like that. Then after that, I got into a relationship with somebody who was highly narcissistic and, a high-level manipulator, gaslighter, master manipulator, whatever the case may be. Then once that relationship went downhill, it kind of opened my mind up to the family that I came from. And it kind of opened my mind up to the relationship I was in. And I started to look at myself, and I started to look at my family, and I started to look at my past relationships and my past friendships and really start to see life for what it is. Because I feel like I was living in a certain reality before that was not real. You know what I'm saying? And it was just because I lacked self-awareness. And when you grow up in something for so long, whether it's dysfunction, whether it's narcissism, whether it's abuse, whatever, it becomes your norm. You feel what I'm saying? To the point where you don't question it, or you'll gaslight yourself because you're like, no, I've been living like this my whole life. But then you see other people living a certain way, and you see these other people living a certain way. And there's a lot going on. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot going on. But once you hit rock bottom, and sometimes that's a relationship, sometimes that's a friendships, somebody might go to jail, somebody might get unalived, you might be in position to possibly get unalived. Die. I'm saying unalive because I'm always on TikTok and you can't say that on there. But when you go through these tough situations and you hit your rock bottom, you start to realize that this world is way deeper than you thought it was. You know what I'm saying? That this world is more spiritual. That people are not who they show up as. That, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of black sheeps or truth tellers or scapegoats on here probably can relate to you being like a genuine person or a caring person. You're not perfect, but you were showing up for people in a certain way, regardless of y'all disconnect. But you realize that these people were showing up with a facade. Now, I can acknowledge the fact that not all people that were in my life had certain qualities. I mean, had all bad qualities, but who they truly were and who they truly decided to be based off of the dysfunction or the narcissist in my family it became a detriment to my life, so I had to remove myself. So that goes into what I was just talking about, how, you know, we lose our family. So after I left that relationship, after I left the family situation, I wrote a book called Definition of Perseverance. It's on Amazon.com. You can look up Josh Different book on Google, or just type in Josh Different. It'll be on the list of stuff on Google. And I wrote this book starting off in kindergarten. It says kindergarten was a war zone, right? I wrote this book and I talked about my experience of going from a young kid who grew up in an atheist family, a dysfunctional family, a narcissistic family, and being a target because I was conditioned to be one. And then growing into this young man who has the ability to not only look at himself, but I went from realizing like, dang, I was a victim to my own family. I was a victim in my relationship. But I literally feel like I got this dog in me. Like I really feel like God created me so strong, and I'm not strong without God. I'm not strong. Without God, I'm just filled with ego. I'm running on ego. But with God, I'm a dog. You feel what I'm saying? I'm strong when I have God. And all those things, even though I was a victim here, victim here, I despise the victim mentality. So I like to take my experience and the things that I've been through and tell other people, no, you got to look at yourself. You got to work on yourself. You got to realize what your boundaries are. You got to understand that God created you in a way that will allow you to become better, thrive, and also be an inspiration for other people. Because this is God's vessel. I'm God's vessel. You know what I'm saying? What's that song? I'm nothing without God. That's a good song. And throughout this journey, I went back and forth because I didn't grow up with God. And if you can relate to this, comment below. I didn't grow up with God. I grew up in an atheist family. And I think it's similar to people who grew up with God in their life, but they didn't really have a connection. It was just based off the fact that, you know, maybe their dad was a pastor, maybe their mom was a pastor, maybe their aunt was into church, maybe the whole family just called themselves Christians, but they weren't really following it. But I truly believe it was a blessing that I started to follow God after I left my atheist family versus growing up in a religious family, because I feel like they would have probably ruined it for me. Versus when I left, I was able to build a raw connection with God. It made me realize that I needed God the whole time. That's why I've made throughout this journey, ever since changing over mentally and connecting with God, a lot of everything I do has to do with a God consciousness. Whether it's music. I mean, if it wasn't for God, I would have been so gone. I'm like, I might as well sing it. I'm just talking it. So if it wasn't for God, as long as God on my side, y'all can really stop my grind. Now, not all my songs are about God, but just like, I feel it. When I read the Bible scriptures, I feel it. It's not just words to me. You feel what I'm saying? And I feel like as a black sheep, as a truth teller, as a narcissistic family scapegoat, a generational curse breaker, I feel like, yes, I go on Reddit and I see these long passages of people saying, if you're a black sheep of family, go no contact and live your life or whatever the case may be. But I truly believe, and everybody's entitled to, you know, feel how they want to feel, move how they want to move. But I feel like you won't internally grow or thrive if you don't have God. So yeah, you can move on. You can get some nice cars. You can create a family. You probably have some kids. You can remove yourself from abusers. But to truly understand this situation, I always talk about it. Matthew 10:36, your own enemies will be of your household. To truly understand this on a higher realm, to truly fill yourself up in the midst of separating from abusers and toxicity, I truly feel like you should connect to God. But to each his own. I want to share this Bible scripture because, like I said, we go through these situations and I feel like connecting to God is so important. This is Hebrews, talking super fast. Hebrews 12, 1 through 3, Since we are surrounded by such huge crowds of witnesses to the life of faith, Let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. And let us run with endurance the race that God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Now he is seated in the place of honor beside God's throne. Think of all the hostility he endured from sinful people. Then you won't become weary and give up. So this is so interesting because it talks about how like Jesus submitted himself to God and walked the path that God created for him. You know what I'm saying? And it also talks about how he's next to God now. His soul is now free and it's thriving in the midst of God's throne. That's why when you speak about God, you speak about Jesus. You feel what I'm saying? Because he's truly a son of God, because he truly followed that path and that perfect purpose that God had for him, right? And that is what we're supposed to do as well as black sheeps, as narcissistic family scapegoats, as truth tellers. We're supposed to be following that same path so we can be in the same light as Jesus Christ. So we can be a true son of God or daughter of God. You feel what I'm saying? And then the last line said, think about the hostility he endured. Think about how your own family attacks you. Think about how you have friends that were against you. Think about how you met that partner and that partner was against you. Think about all the spiritual warfare that's out here. Think about all the narcissism that's out here. Think about all the Jezebels that are out here. You feel what I'm saying? Think about all of the hostility that he endured from sinful people. Because God comes first before your mom, your dad. And what are your family doing? Your family are scapegoating you. You know what I'm saying? In the Bible, it talks about how, your child is a gift. You shouldn't provoke your children, and that's exactly what the narcissist and the Jezebel are doing in your family, whether you notice it or not. Some people notice it later, some people notice it sooner. You know what I'm saying? And it says, then you won't become weary and give up. So no matter how many people are against you, you shouldn't submit to that. You shouldn't feel like, oh my God, my mom's against me, so I'm just going to give up. No, you got to connect to God. You got to become obedient to God. You got to realize that these people are on their path, but the path that you are on is to fill yourself up with God and continue to push forward. And if they are not aligning with God, if they are not doing right by you, who is walking with God, then you got to remove yourself. You know what I'm saying? You got to separate from that. And just stay focused. And it's not easy. And I make this content, whether it's on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, for the past 4 years now, from 2021 to 2024, to let people know that I know it's tough to lose family. I know it's tough to realize that your blood can be against you. I know it's tough to have to go through so many different emotions and be isolated sometimes. But one is so tough because God wants to turn you into somebody that is so strong that anybody on this worldly realm can't break you. Whether it's friends, family, partners. It's not an easy path, trust me. It's not an easy path. I had ups and downs. I've been homeless. If you've been following my journey, you already know what's up. I share most of my stuff as raw as possible because I feel like this path is beyond me as a human being. And maybe if my videos are still here and it can connect with somebody in the future, you know what I'm saying? Or somebody finds my journey and say, oh, he's been through this, he's been through that. I don't have no family, no no friends, whatever. But I found Josh different, you know what I'm saying? And I can feel the God within him. I can see the rawness of his journey, and it will inspire me to, in turn, follow my path and then inspire people along my journey as well. And then we continuously keep it going. You know what I'm saying? It's not easy. But keep God first and keep pushing forward. It's your boy Josh Different. I'm different, you different, we different. I'm out.